Hello, sweethearts, and welcome to week 6 of the Let's Play Summer School 2. This week we're going to be playing Gradius. It came out in the arcades in May of 1985. That makes it like 30 years old or something. It's old as hell, and a shocking coincidence, so am I. So me and the Vic Viper here are a perfect fit, yeah, with its basic shot and its power meter system to power up. Yeah, and it's got a nice angular aesthetic to it, too. Overall, I'd give it like a 9 out of 10, I guess. But yeah, the power meter. It's ubiquitous to Gradius, and hell, it even branched off into other Konami shooters, like Gradius' sister series, Salamander, or as us cinnamon rolls know it as, Life Force. So I've traded out the basic shot for a nice laser, and that's what I'm going to be rocking for the rest of this video. Double is another option, but it's not good. Well, it has its uses in certain stages, but not here. All it is just the basic shot, and then another basic shot, but at a 45-degree angle. That's helpful for hitting things that are above you, but you really don't need to. If you're good, you can just blast it with the laser. I can think of one part where double is useful, and that's the final stage of the game, actually. But we're not going to be getting there here. Even though you can beat this game in like 20 minutes, but you're not gonna beat this game in 20 minutes the first time you beat it. But other powers we can get include this option here, which is just a glowy ball that mimics whatever the hell I do. And the question mark, which we'll be grabbing right about here. Yeah, it's a nice shield. It can block bullets and helps you defend against a frontal assault. Of course, it can run out, and if anything like collides with you, you're still dead. But hey, better than nothing, right? I mean, it can help against something like this. We've reached the end of stage 1, and we got ourselves a volcanic assault. I don't really like this. I mean, not just this, but every stage in Gradius ends with this, like, survive and onslaught of stuff. And I don't like it. I might like it a bit more if they had more unique bosses, but all you do is you survive this. These are the only unique parts, and then after you survive that, you fight this every time. This is the big core. You have to shoot the core. That means shooting out those little shields, those little barriers right in the middle, and hitting it in this nuclear reactor or whatever. Now, that wouldn't be so bad if that was not the only boss you fight in the game, but it is. This is it. You've just seen every boss fight in Gradius. Right here. Just repeated 6 more times. Now, later games would add different kinds of cores with different kinds of cool attacks and looks and whatnot, like Crystal Core or Big Laser Core or, I don't know, Circle Core that shoots missiles at you. That's a core that exists. But this game just relies more on the survive and onslaught of shit. And I'm not sure I'm fond of that. But what I am fond of is being fully powered up. Yeah, I've got 2 options, and I've got my lasers, and I've got my missiles, and my shield, and I've got a little speed. Now, in the arcade version, you could have 4 options, but the little NES can't quite handle that many sprites. In Gradius 2 on Famicom, you were able to have 4 options, but ooh, that didn't work so well because there was so much flicker. Poor little gray toaster couldn't handle it. Hell, there are situations in Gradius 1 here, even with 2 options, where the little system can't handle it, and you get extreme slowdown. But it can work to your advantage. And really, you're going to need an advantage, because Gradius is hard, man. And it's hard because it was an arcade game. Now, this should go without saying. I mean, I've written lots of posts about this on the internet, but I'm going to assume you ain't ever heard of it, and I'm going to introduce you to a phrase I coined called the Dread Beast Greed. Gradius was an arcade game made by Konami, sort of a follow-up to 1981's Scramble. Now, what did they want? Money! They're a business, after all. Arcade games are all about maximizing playtime while also not letting you play for too long on a single quarter. So you really feel like you got your quarters worth, right? So you play for a couple of minutes while you're waiting for your pizza or whatever, and then the game gets really hard and kills you in some horseshit way, and it kills you stone dead. And you either have to quit and go eat your pizza, or shove another quarter in to keep playing. Now, that's a mighty fine business model that many people back in the day, in the glory days of arcades, hit upon, and they made it work. Atari, especially, I think, were masters of this. It's really a science. They got that down to a science. I mean, and don't forget Taito with Space Invaders. I mean, there are stories about how it caused a goddamn shortage of coins in Japan because people just kept putting them in Space Invaders machines. That's ridiculous. Am I right? And the problem came with home ports. This is the NES version of Gradius. Now, ostensibly back in the day, you'd plop down $50 for this thing. That's a fair price for it back in 1986. We're not going to argue that. But that's also 100 quarters. 100 games of Gradius. That's a lot of money to be plunking down. And yet, the thing does not acquiesce on difficulty or pull back the reins in any sort of sense. And you can really see it here in Moai Head level. Yeah, Moai Heads, they became sort of a staple of Gradius. I don't know why. Someone had a fixation with Easter Island, I guess, at Konami, but they're shooting these onion rings at me. I don't want onion rings, but there are quite a lot of them. They're very hard to avoid. Also, my shield's almost gone, but what I like to do sometimes is I like to get poked. I poke myself purposefully when my shield goes in the red, so then I can just activate it again and get it fresh, because I always like to hover over it. But I'm getting sidetracked here. I gotta talk about difficulty. This game is hard. It's so hard, in fact, that it is the reason the Konami code exists. Yeah. That wasn't born from Contra. That was born because, like, someone playtesting this thing or whatever found it way too hard, so they put in a code. So they could power up in full in Gradius. I'm not using it because that'd be cheating, but if you want to use it, if you want to play Gradius and use it, that's your prerogative. I'm not going to stop you, but I'm not going to blame you either, because this game is really hard. And what makes it hard is something that's been called Gradius Syndrome. Fuck this part, by the way. So, Gradius Syndrome. I'm powered up to the 9s here. If I were to die and have a little mishap with these things homing in on me and shooting these spread whatsits, I would come back to this part completely powerless. No speed up, no missiles, no options, nothing. I would then have to survive this exact same onslaught with nothing. Now in Gradius, that is next to impossible. I'm not going to call it impossible. Certainly there are people who can come back from it. Very skilled people. I am not one of them. And I'm willing to bet that the general populace are not those kinds of people. And if you face them with that situation, they will burn through all their lives rather quickly. And here's the wrinkle. Gradius 1, I'm pretty sure it doesn't have continues. Like, you lose all your lives, you have to go back to the beginning of the game. That's... So, in a way, it's almost even more harsh than the arcade version, this home port. Well, I'm not going to go all out and say that it's harder, because the NES can't handle things. The NES can't handle too many sprites at once. That means you can only have 2 options, yes, but it also means that the game can throw less shit at you. So there is that factor to consider as well, if you're calling this harder than the arcade version, which I wouldn't go that far. But it's definitely hard. It's definitely very, very hard. I spent an afternoon trying to master this thing. Not so much master as just try to survive without dying all the way through the end, because you basically either have to be a savant at coming back from losing all your power-ups, or you have to know-death the thing. And I just chose the latter option and burned the patterns into my brain, but if you can do the first thing, more power to you, man, but really, this is quite difficult, and a lot of games of this era suffer this whole Gradius Syndrome thing. Ironically, it wasn't until Super Nintendo, I think, when it started going away, and the finest example I can think of is Axelay. Axelay is almost like reverse Gradius, because you start with all your weapons, you lose them as you get hit, and if you die, you respawn with all your weapons again. So they finally learned that they don't have to kick your shit in when you're on a console and playing a shmup to make a good, challenging shmup, because Axelay is still a good, challenging shmup, even without, you know, this whole Gradius syndrome, one death in your Fox syndrome thing. But that's neither here nor there. Actually, it didn't come out before 1985, so it's not eligible for this week anyway. Though I am kind of pushing it. Not as much as Jetstorm, December 1985. Man, look at you. Clever. Clever and crafty. I'll give you that much. It's definitely very, very good. But I do like this game. It was one of the first games I bought for my 3DS on the Virtual Console. Look, I was on a Gradius kick then, okay? For God's sakes, I was on such a Gradius kick that I actually played and beat Automedius Excellent. Twice! On easy and normal. Look, I was on a kick. I was on a Gradius kick. I was in the right place. My friend had it. Don't look at me like that. The less we say about Automedius Excellent, the better. Just trust me on this one. Let's get back to Gradius. And how this next level really stinks. Because I don't like this stage at all. In fact, I don't even know if I can call it a stage, because it doesn't have a unique background. It's just in space, and you only fight one type of enemy. And that type of enemy is obnoxious. Here they come. Ah, yes. The arm brains in space. And here's where that slowdown comes in. It is helpful. I'll give it that. It lets me weave through these bullets rather efficiently, but... Well, Vic Viper ain't no magical Toho girl, so it's not... Weaving's not the best thing. I mean, and I'll give Gradius credit there. As hard as it can be, it ain't no Danmaku. So, props to that. Has anyone ever made a Gradius Danmaku? I'm just thinking this off the top of my head now. Has anyone actually ever done that? I would really love to see that. Because there are Danmaku games I like I did mention Toho. Perfect Cherry Blossom is one of the best goddamn shooters I ever played in 2014. As was Danmaku Unlimited 2. Those are good. I mean... but I think my favorite Gradius game is probably, yeah, Gradius 2 on Nintendo. Even if it has a lot of flicker, it's just something about it. It's not too hard, it's not too easy, and it's got enough customization. If Gradius 2 had the customization of Gradius 3, it'd be way up there. As much as I love the customization in Gradius 3, it's a bit hard. I'm going on a big Gradius nerd tangent. I hope you understand all of this, but if you don't, just know that Gradius is a good series. I've played almost all the games except for Gradius Interstellar Assault on Game Boy and Gradius 5. And Gradius 5 is because I can't find the fucking thing and it's, like, expensive online. As for Interstellar Assault, I don't know. I tried it. I haven't beaten it. I beat Nemesis on Game Boy. That's a game that you can give yourself 99 lives in. That's not even a cheat. You can just give yourself 99 lives in stage select. It's like they didn't even care, but... And again, Nemesis is very early Game Boy, and that's back when it was weird. I mean, like, Super Mario Land, Solar Striker, Castlevania The Adventure. That weird sort of portable aesthetic. I mean, Nemesis, I really need to give it a shot again, see if it's just as transcendent as something like Solar Striker or Super Mario Land, but I don't know. Gradius, still good. I don't regret playing those games. Well, I don't know. Gradius 4 was not the most fun thing in the world, I'll say that much. I died quite a lot on that. I had to credit feed it on the Gradius collection on PSP, but I don't care, I count it. The Dread Beast Greed got his virtual money. He don't even care if the quarters you're feeding are imaginary. He'll still eat them. He's a glutton. He's a big glutton for punishment. Oh yeah, we're on like the second to last stage, Gradius. After this is the finale, which I'm not gonna get to today, but I did a full LP of this for Something Awful a while back. I'll link you to that. Hey, while we're linking to things, I'm going to link to the TAS of Gradius, which is just a work of art. It's impossible for a human to pull off those moves. It's like ballet in space. You just have to see it to believe it. Trust me on this. as we blast through blue veins, then shoot parasites, antibodies on... Look, I don't know. I really don't know. But what I do know is that that's all the time we have for today. So this has been week 6 of the Let's Play Summer School 2. It's been Gradius. Mighty fun game. Very difficult, but very fun. And I'll see you next week. Goodbye, sweethearts.